Have you ever noticed how people react when someone changes their mind? It's usually not positive. They'll say things like, I thought you believed X, or you've changed, or you used to say, almost as if consistency is always more important than accuracy. For a long time, I thought that too. I thought changing my mind meant I'd gotten something wrong. But now I see it differently. I think changing your mind when the evidence justifies it is one of the healthiest things that a person can do. There was a point in my life when I realized that I wasn't becoming a different person. I was becoming a more informed one. And that's a big distinction. As I read more, research more, and spent more time with primary sources, I found myself adjusting conclusions that I had held for years. And some of these changes were small, others were pretty significant. And every time it happened, I had a choice. I could protect my old opinion, or I could pursue the truth. I've learned that those two goals don't always point in the same direction. Here's something I found interesting. We all say that we value growth. We tell our children to learn. We encourage people to keep an open mind. We celebrate lifelong learning. But the moment someone's beliefs actually begin to change, people often become uncomfortable. Why? Because change creates uncertainty. It forces everyone around us to ask, if they're rethinking this, what should I be rethinking? And that's not always a comfortable question. Imagine a scientist who runs an experiment. The evidence doesn't support the original hypothesis. What should a scientist do? Should they ignore the evidence? Of course not. A good scientist changes the conclusion. Now, imagine doing that in everyday life. You discover new evidence, you encounter a better argument, you learn historical context that you never had before. Why should everyday thinking operate differently than good science? If better evidence appears, changing your conclusion isn't failure, it's integrity. Sometimes people wear consistency like a badge of honor. It's like, I believe the same thing for 30 years. I believe the same thing all my life or since I was a child. Maybe. But here's the question that matters. Have you investigated the belief that you have during those 30 years? Or have you simply repeated it? And those are very different things. Consistency is admirable only if what you're consistently defending is true. Otherwise, you're simply becoming consistently wrong. Let me tell you what I learned as I build Black Logic Media. One thing this project has taught me is that history is rarely as simple as we first learn it. The deeper I dig, the more complicated people become. Heroes have flaws. Villains sometimes possess admirable qualities. Historical events usually have more than one cause, and simple stories often become complex stories. I've had to revise my own thinking over and over again. And honestly, I'm grateful for that because every revision has brought me a little closer to understanding. I've started measuring confidence differently. I used to think confidence meant never doubting yourself. Now I think confidence means being secure enough to admit that you've learned something new. There's nothing weak about saying, I see this differently now. In fact, I think it takes far more courage than pretending that you never changed. This week, think about one opinion that you've held for a long time and ask yourself three simple questions. One, have I investigated this recently? Two, would I arrive at the same conclusion if I were learning this for the first time today? And three, what kind of evidence would actually change my mind? And don't answer those questions quickly. Really, really think about it. You may discover your beliefs become even stronger, or you may discover it's ready to evolve. Either outcome is progress. One of the greatest freedoms that I've ever discovered is giving myself permission to grow, to keep learning, to keep refining, to keep asking better questions. Not because I enjoy being wrong, but because I enjoy getting closer to reality. And if that means changing my mind once in a while, I'm okay with that. Because I'd rather spend my life pursuing the truth than protecting an old opinion. Thanks for spending a little time with me today. I'll see you on the next conversation.